Hey onesies, Josh Williams here, and thanks for checking out this week's episode of the One Man Podcast. It's always free and available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and many more, as well as on the web at onemanpodcast.com. So please, whatever platform you're listening on, like and subscribe. While you're at it, give it a rating, leave a review. Why? Because it helps the podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. How about that? What about social media? Search One Man Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to keep up with what's going on there. Get a little extra content for yourself. And finally, to get in touch, please send your emails to contact@onemanpodcast.com. You send it, I read it on the podcast. That's the deal. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
Hi, this is Rick Mercer. You're listening to the One Man Podcast.
Yeah!
It's Josh Williams here, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 132 for Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. What's going on, onesies? Welcome back to the show. This week, I am not laying in bed doing the episode. Sorry for that. Last week was not feeling too good, coming off of a road thing. Feeling good. Well, I'm back to myself right now. I am doing absolutely fine. Feeling good, and I had one hell of a week since last I chatted with you guys. Bouncing back from last week's episode. I gotta be honest with you guys. Last week's episode is the first time in history that I've ever just desperately wanted to re-record an episode. I remember just feeling like that one was bad. Some technical difficulties during it, just a complete lack of energy. And I was trying to power myself. I'm just going, you can record something else, but I just didn't have anything. I didn't have anything, and I didn't do it. And I've never done that before. Well, I mean, I've re-recorded episodes because, of other reasons, but not because I'm just like, meh, that sucked. And let's be honest, there's been plenty of times where that should have been the case. But this week, I have all sorts of different things to tell you guys about. I just hosted a week at Absolute Comedy, and we had a ton of extra shows added, so we were going hard every single night. I also had a one-nighter show that I do every single year, one of my favorite shows to do of the year. Great time with them on Friday night. Yeah, it was Friday night. I also did another one-nighter at a place called Moose McGuire's. I went to go see a friend of mine's business. I didn't even know it was his business when I was going. It's just, I'm all about these things. Some tiny home stuff. I'll tell you guys about that a little bit later on in the show. I did an activation for a food bar thing that was actually ended up being pretty good and pretty popular. I picked up a bunch of stuff to build whiskey shelves. I've been hunting down more whiskeys. I'll tell you guys about that. I started a whiskey group on Facebook for anyone who's interested in, a little bit of a buzz. I posted something, seeing if I had anybody in my community or around that was interested in whiskeys. To put together a little group, a little tribe of people who would be interested in sipping on some whiskey, some mushka beta. And, what else? What else am I talking to you guys about? I planned I booked a trip, and I'll tell you about that. That was the biggest news, but it happened like the day after the podcast. So I almost forgot to write that down as something to talk about. And finally, stupid Jason Asshole Face, had a little bit of an incident, which I'll tell you guys about a little bit later on, but I'll bump right into the week, guys. I hosted at Absolute Comedy all last week. Starting from Tuesday. So I guess I recorded the podcast and then I got my ass to the show. And like I said, I came back after the show thinking like, oh, this is a bad podcast. I'm embarrassed to put my name on this, but didn't end up recording a new one. Anyways, I did the show on Tuesday night, had a bunch of comics. We did the show at the downstairs showroom at Absolute Comedy. So if you're not familiar with this, the Ottawa location has two showrooms. They have an upstairs showroom and a downstairs showroom. So the Tuesday night show, there was actually a big graduating comedy class that had the upstairs showroom. So we did our shows, two shows simultaneously. And we did the show, the regular Absolute Comedy show in the downstairs showroom. Very cool. A lot of fun. I got to work with my buddy, Jason Blanchard, who was headlining all week. And then starting on Thursday was, regular feature, Rebecca Reed's comic who started here in Ottawa and now makes her home in Toronto. And she's had a lot of success. So it was kind of cool getting to catch up with her, get to catch up with Jason. It was a fun week working with them. The shows were crazy. Like we did 3 nights with upstairs and downstairs simultaneous shows. So to give you an example of what that's like is on Friday nights at Absolute Comedy, we do 2 shows and Saturday nights as well. So Friday and Saturday nights, we have an 8 o'clock show and a late show, 10:30 p.m. show. And when you're doing 2 shows, not a big deal. You know, you generally have a big buffer between your sets because there's turning over the room and things like that. So you get to a point where you're like, I mean, I think that there's sometimes I've done 3 shows in a night, like 3 different time slots where you're kind of like, by the 3rd show, you're like, did I already tell that joke? Well, when you're doing simultaneous shows, because Absolute Comedy has a showroom upstairs and down, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night shows, the shows were sold out so far in advance that we added a second simultaneous show. So not like, hey, we got another show after this one. It's the 2 shows are happening at the exact same time. And so what we did was we actually shuffled around the orders to make both shows work. So for example, for myself, what's this? More internet. I'm getting so many fucking spam emails now, guys. It's absolutely ridiculous. I've, when people are like, I don't give my email away, my address away, I don't want all the junk mail. I've always been like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I can delete a couple emails a day. It doesn't hurt me. And I might win something or whatever. Yeah, here you go. I get 3 to 4 emails a day from Old Navy. I don't know what the fuck their problem is. Did you guys know that everything is on sale at Old Navy at 40% off all the time? Because every single day they're like, hey, we have a special sale just for you, 40% off, blah, 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 blah. Every fucking day. They're so annoying. I unsubscribed and yet they're still sending me emails every day. Indigo's another one. Indigo sends a message every single day, sometimes twice a day. That's too much, you fuckers. Tell me what the sale is at the beginning of the week and then tell me next week what the sale is. I can live with that. Anyways, I digress. My computer interrupted me while I was thinking. So my position on these upstairs and downstairs shows was on the upstairs show. So basically both shows would start at let's say 8:30 or 8 o'clock, depending on the night. Rebecca would host upstairs and Jason Blanchard, the headliner, would host downstairs. So both of them are on stage at the same time. And luckily for those 2 shows simultaneously, I actually didn't have to go on first at all on either of those shows. Any of those shows, I should say, which is great because I can show up and I can fucking relax. And those 2 are warming up, crowds that were just like standing in line for God knows how long. Because when you're sitting, it's 200 people upstairs and 100 people downstairs. That's 300 people standing in line waiting to get in. It's still only one box office. So those people are being bounced around for a little while first. So anyways, they're warming them up, and upstairs I'm featuring, which means I'm the middle act. I go on before the headliner. So upstairs I'm featuring, and, downstairs, Rebecca's featuring. So she does the host stuff up top. And then as soon as she's done, she runs downstairs and Jason, the headliner down there, brings her up and she brings me up upstairs. Then what happens is, I upstairs, when I'm finished, I bring up Jason Blanchard, who is hosting downstairs, and he headlines upstairs. And downstairs, Rebecca finishes middling and then brings me up to headline downstairs. So it's kind of like you get off stage upstairs after featuring, at least I wasn't, feature, blah, 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 do my thing, go downstairs. I got maybe about 5 minutes before I'm right back to doing another 30 minutes. Like it's a very short break between it. So I'm almost like in the span of 65 minutes, I'm speaking for 60 of it. So like an hour straight of talking, which if you listen to this podcast, I'm no stranger to, but being funny consistently for that straight hour, that's a different monster. So yeah, it was very, it was a lot of work. And then of course, Friday and Saturday was the same story. However, you're adding a late show to that. So not only are you doing 2 shows simultaneously for the 8 o'clock portion, but then you get like an hour break and then you're back to doing another show. So, for me, however, on the Friday night, I had, the Orchard View show. So we actually did that same format. So I would middle upstairs and headline downstairs for the 2 simultaneous show things. On Friday night, the early show, I actually couldn't be at the early show. So somebody else did like the upstairs and downstairs thing. I didn't have to do that. I came back for the late show. But there's a show I do every year at Orchard View for like the Osgood, Business Association, everything like that. They are, absolutely outstanding people. They sell out every year. It's a great meal and a show and for a good cause. They're like $75 a plate, tickets, right? So they get a dinner and a show for like $75. And they bring, They bring us in. So I've helped them book that show for the last couple of years. So I host it, and then I bring in some comics that I'm a big fan of. This year I brought in my buddy Jason Harper and my buddy Rory Gardner, and I brought in a good friend of mine, David Pride, fucking hilarious comedian. I'm sorry, American onesies and people in other parts of the world, you probably don't know who he is, but he is a very big deal here in Canada. In terms of like, he's done all the festivals, he's on the radio and a bunch of, comedy shows and things like that. Insanely good writer. If you want to look up David Pride on YouTube, you will not be disappointed. Pride spelled Pryde. But yeah, the show was fantastic. Great comics. I was a bit under the clock, so I wasn't able to have as good a time as I would have liked, because the whole time I was stressing about time, right? Like originally when we had discussed doing the show, I'm like, well, let's do it at 8:00 so that, that means we have to get like dinner out and served and this and turned over before, 8:00. So usually I was like, okay, well, let's get people there and dinner started by 7. Dinner didn't start until like 7:30. Which, I don't know if you know about anything but 4-course meals, but you're not getting a room full of people fed 4 courses in the span of, 30 minutes. So I'm like, right away, I knew that we were going to be a little late, because here's my thing. And this is just logistics. It's not, funny or anything, but I'm there thinking, okay, we're there at 7:00. The guys show up. Dave's still on his way because he's driving in from Montreal. And I'm going, I need to be at Absolute Comedy for 10:30. I have to be in the door because that's when the late show starts and I'm hosting that. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm not going to tell them I need to leave at 10, right? It's a half an hour drive from where I am back to the club. I'm like, I can't tell them I can leave at 10 because I can't. If I leave at 10 and there's any kind of delay or hiccup or traffic or anything like that, I'm going to be fucking late. So I'm like, I got to leave at 9:30. And I'm like, if the show's an hour and a half, we can start it at 8:00. Well, clearly the show's not going to start at 8:00. So I'm like, this sucks. And the dinner wasn't even done. We didn't even get the show started, guys, until 8:45. So we're 45 minutes behind schedule. It's an hour and a half long show. So I'm like, there's no way. I can't watch David, who's not working at the club or anything like that this week. So it's like, this is just my only opportunity to see my buddy perform for a while. And he's fucking hysterical. Anyways. So we have our dinner. We're there with the organizers. Again, everything was great. And the comics absolutely destroyed. However, I just was kind of bummed out because I'm like, basically it's going to be, I have to bring up David Pride. And then as soon as he's on stage, I have to leave. So I can't watch him headline the show. People were great. Big thanks to Jane. Big thanks to Gino. Big thanks to George. A lot of the organizers, things like that. I doubt they listen to the podcast, but just throwing it out there. They're great people. They're great to work with. The comics all did an amazing job that night. It was a great show. I guaranteed they'll be booking it with us again next year. Very, very happy. Can't wait to be a part of it. It was just, instead of being just like the great night that I'm used to it being, because we get to sit around and enjoy. When the show starts, it starts. When it's over, it's over. I was kind of under the gun to like, okay, I just have to, I was stressed the whole time about time, just to make sure that, I didn't screw up. And end up late or something like that. But it went off without a hitch. I got out the door. I messaged the other comics afterwards and said, hey, how's the show? Are they loving Dave? And they're like, yeah, everything he's killing right now. Like they're loving it. I messaged the organizers the next day. They had a blast. So, it was a great evening. I had a great time. And of course we came back, did the late show at Absolute. It was a lot of fun. Easy peasy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else last week during the week that really stands out. Be times like this would be great if my phone was within reach. One sec here. Always plug it into the charger across the room when I'm doing the podcast. Fuck. All right. I feel like there was stuff during the week I did do stuff during the week, and I'll tell you guys about that a little bit later on. But software update will be auto-installed. That's great news. Oh, I got to see, I told you guys about that last week. Yep. Really not a whole lot of, yeah, okay, there we go. So I did get it all in my notes here. I went to go see, on Saturday during the day, I went to go see my buddy, Simon, his company. He owns a company called Humble Creek Homes, and they do tiny homes. They do tiny home builds. So last Saturday they were doing their big sort of like, open house, I guess you call it, and sort of setting up some commitments, some some contracts to be building these homes. It was super cool. I got to tell you guys, like I've told you before in other podcasts that I'm starting to be like all about these tiny homes. I was chatting with a guy in Ottawa here who's part of the RV Easy. Like the whole idea of having a small home. I don't need a lot of space. Like right now I've got a room in a house, you know what I mean? Like I don't need a ton of space. I'm more than happy to downsize and live a humble life. But I'm also interested in the idea of like a motorhome or whatever. Just they're so fucking expensive to drive around, right? They're expensive. So I'm trying to think of maybe I can get a small trailer or something like that. But anyways, the idea of living in a small space, is fascinating to me. I say small space and then I hesitated because I'm like, well, don't we all live in a small space when we get to the end? Nice coffin in the ground, unless you're cremated and then you live in an even smaller space. So all I'm saying is I'm fascinated. Maybe I'm just getting myself ready for the grave, I'm going to slowly start downsizing, and then I'll just be that old guy who lives in the tiniest room in a nursing home. I mean, I know I'll be dead by then. That was my mantra all week too. Every time something would frustrate me, I just go, thank God I'll be dead soon. But yeah. Humble Creek Homes. I definitely checked it out. It was actually cool because I got to go on Friday. I was working all day Saturday, so I couldn't make the event. So I reached out to him and I was just saying, hey man, I'm sorry I can't make the event, but I mean, I hope it's a blast. And he's like, well, what are you doing on Friday? So I went over there while he was doing finishings and stuff, and we just shot the shit. He showed me the whole place. I got kind of a private VIP tour of the unit, and it was really cool, man. I'm more excited about these tiny homes like by the week. Just you keep seeing more cool shit and how much they make the space they have work for them. Like I've always been like that. When I was always had my own room or something like that, when I had roommates, I was really good. Even my last place that I had to myself, I was really good about maximizing the space, shelvings and containers and storage units and things like that. I was always really good at making everything that I had fit the space as good as possible. So I'm happy with that. And I think I can make these, it's kind of cool to see homes doing that exact same thing where you just maximize all the space and, there's room for shit and whatnot. And also too, like I like the idea of minimalism, but I mean, I still have stuff. I mean, I'm going to be telling you guys about the whiskey that I'm collecting and the shelves I'm going to be building because I'm running out of space, in the existing stuff that I have. So I need to make a system that's going to work a little bit better, but I'll tell you about that later. Anyways, Humble Creek Homes, the open house was Saturday. I couldn't go to it, but I definitely got to see the place beforehand, and it's very, very cool. So, if you're in the Ottawa area and you're fascinated, check it out. There's rules and stuff like that apply. So he was telling me all about them. I remember when he first posted the open house, I was like, yeah, I'd love to go, but I wasn't available, but I went to the website and things like that. And I was looking at it. I didn't realize that my buddy was the owner of the company. I just figured he was one of the contractors. But no, it's his company. And, it's interesting. So for this is Ottawa specifically. Okay. So capital of Canada for my international listeners, maybe even some of the Canadian listeners, if you come from a yuck place, but, the rules in Ottawa are getting a little bit more lax for things like tiny homes. Cause some people want to put them on their property, right? Like what do they call them? Like a granny suite or something like that. Well, now, you can put them on your property. But the rule is it has to be, it can't be any more than 40% of the size of the original property. Not property, I apologize, for the original structure. So the house that's already there, the tiny home cannot be any more than 40% of the size of that. It has to be plumbed in by the city. So it can't be like those torch porta potties or the organic ones. It has to be plumbed into the regular, water system. It has to be hooked up to the power. And I believe it has to be hooked up to the power, but I know it has to be plumbed in properly. So there's rules that you have to adhere to, but ultimately it's something that is allowed. It's not like you're cheating the system or anything like that. And apparently they're working on making, I think they call them tiny home communities or something like that, which I was joking with, I was just saying, oh, that's amazing. Like, of course the landscape and the political climate and all that stuff is moving to more smaller things. And we don't need, there's so many people moving to the city and all these big condos and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool that they're understanding that some people just need a small space. And they don't need something. And I'm just standing there as it dawned. I'm like, why doesn't this exist before? And I'm like, it's trailer parks. That's what it is. The trailer parks do exist. They're just shitty. But the whole idea is that you can actually make a nice home that's small and it's classy. It's got, all the things that you need. He had everything hooked up with smart home stuff. Showing me all the different things and the customizability and things like that. It was cool. Humble Creek Homes, guys, check it out. And as I learn more about it, I will share that information with you, when the time comes. What else? What else have I got here? 20 minutes in, there's so much to talk about. Let me get my little highlighter here and cross off the stuff I've done. Sorry, I brushed my teeth and put my aligners back in right before I started recording. And of course, recording on Tuesday, as always. What did I talk about here? I talked about my week at Absolute Comedy. I talked about the one natter at Orchard View. Oh, well, I may as well talk about this one here in a sec. Yeah, my mouth got dry when I put these in. I don't know if it's like the toothpaste or the mouthwash or whatever, but I got that dry crack feeling you get in the back of your throat where, like, as you're speaking, you feel it drying out. You're like, I might do that thing where I fucking cough and choke or whatever. But anyways, so Saturday, like I said, I wasn't able to go to my buddy's event because I was doing an activation, and I was doing an activation for a company. I'll give them a free plug because I'm a sweetie pie. It's called Good to Go Bars, and they are, here we go with all the unfun food terminology. They are gluten-free, they're vegan, they are keto-friendly. There's something else, they're dairy-free. I mean, you say vegan, that's dairy-free, right? So, yeah, they had these 4 different flavors. And I tried them. Now, I've done stuff for bar companies before, and I've had some leftovers, and the bars are, in my opinion, gross. And in fact, a lot of people that eat those kind of bars also have been like, they're kind of gross. There's like 1 or 2 flavors of that other company that I like, but overall, I would never pay for them. I would never eat them. They're just, and if like the weather gets the temperature where they are gets the slightest bit warm, they melt because they're full of like oils and things like good fats. And, yeah, they just get greasy, oily, and they start to melt and stuff. They're just garbage. I remember I picked up a bunch of them for an activation, put them in my car. They were in my car for 2 days before the person sent me an email and said, oh, by the way, make sure that you refrigerate them because if they're in the heat, they'll melt. They were in my black car for 2 days in the middle of summer. And in my head, I'm just like, well, then they're melted. You don't tell me to pick something up and 2 days later tell me I'm doing the activation in like 3 days. I'm not going to carry, there was like 30 boxes. I'm not carrying 30 boxes into the house just so I can carry them back into the car. I got them stacked nicely in the car. They'll stay here until the activation. Well, they tell me, oh, and make sure that you keep them cool. Yeah, it's too late there, Midge. Anyways, these bars actually taste good. Now, they don't taste like candy. It's not like you're eating fucking cake or cookie dough, but they do have a muffiny, cakey texture to them. And like I said, they're called Good to Go Bars. They've got 4 flavors, and they're in tandem. So it's like they have like a lemon raspberry. They have a cinnamon pecan, which was my favorite, vanilla almond, and they call it cocoa coconut because it's like a chocolate coconut cocoa. But they're good. They're actually on sale in Loblaws or Provigo on the Quebec side. Right now. So you can get a box for like $15. I think they're on Amazon for like 25 to give you an idea. So they're not cheap by any means, but they're very low calorie. They're like 160, 170 calories a bar. Anyways, point being is I was activating for these guys. They are not a sponsor. I'm just giving them a free plug. It was cool to actually get something, in the bar friendly thing, that was actually decent tasting. I did the activation at a Good Life. So I'm basically handing out bars all morning and afternoon at the spot on Saturday. That's why I couldn't be at my buddy's thing. And the staff was very, very nice there. They were doing big events. They were all very friendly and sweet. So when there was leftovers at the end of the day, I made sure to leave them with them. I grabbed a few boxes to bring with me just to give to some of my peeps, let them try it out. But I left a bunch of stuff with the staff. They were great. The fucking general manager, dude, he was very nice. He was very kind. But I swear to God, like I wanted to take his picture so bad, but I felt like an asshole if I took it and posted it. And God forbid he or someone who knows him saw it, I wouldn't want to A, hurt his feelings, B, have him kick the shit out of me. So, but I swear to God, this guy, no word of a lie. If I took a picture and showed it to you guys, you would know exactly what I was talking about. He looked like if Gollum had been hitting the gym. You know what I mean? Like he was bald. He had these big fucking blue eyes or green eyes or whatever, like Gollum, like these big eyes and kind of like, I don't want to say haggard teeth. He didn't have haggard teeth, but they weren't straight. But he was fucking jacked. Super nice guy. Smeagol on the inside, Gollum on the outside. but I just wanted to take a picture so I could be like, and you know, I said it to like one of the employees. They're like, he's blah, blah, blah. And I go, he looks like Gollum just started hitting the gym. Like he's jacked, but it just looks like Gollum. And I was like, anyways, that's what I did Saturday during the day. And then of course, Saturday night, whoa, showtime. We did the 2 shows downstairs early, two shows early, one upstairs, one down. And then we did the late show. And that was great. I had my buddies, Peter and Ivan and Graham showed up for that. That was a lot of fun seeing those boys after the show. Just a ton of work. That night, I actually brought a bunch of bars to the club and gave them to the comics, the staff, the servers. I gave some to my buddy Pete, who is big shout out to my buddy Pete. I got to throw this up. I know he listens to the podcast. Pete, you're probably listening to this like 4 weeks after it's aired. So who knows what your new number is, but Peter, got himself a trainer. Peter and I were going to the gym for a while together. Peter, went from, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but 319 pounds. Okay. A month or so ago, maybe it's got to be like 6 weeks. I'm going to go 6 weeks to be safe because I'm pretty confident it's been at least 6 weeks. But he went from 319 pounds, guys. He is currently 289, if I'm not mistaken. Guy's lost 30 pounds in 6 weeks going to the gym with his trainer. He got a trainer, working hard with his trainer. That's huge, guys. What is it? 14, come on, math. 21, 42 days. Guy has lost 30 pounds. That's amazing. So big hats off to Peter. Peter, keep crushing it, buddy. Good for you. Very, very proud of the hard work that you're doing, man. You weigh less than I do now. You're close. It's only a couple of pounds, buddy. You have a big lunch and I take a big crap. We could change places real quick. Like a fucking Kentucky Derby there. 2 horses fucking nose to nose. Who's going to cross the finish line? But no, I'm super proud of my buddy and he's working real hard. Don't stop. Any of you guys working hard. I mean, big shout out to Brent in Alberta. Brent, lost a ton of weight last year, working hard and being disciplined. So hats off to Brent. Anybody who's working hard, you got some shit that you're working on. It doesn't have to be weight loss or whatever. Just tell me what you're doing and what you're focused on and tell me some of your successes and let's fucking celebrate them together. Let me give you a little verbal fucking, hand job or whatever it is. Just happy for you guys. That's all. I'm happy for you. I don't know what the fuck I did on Sunday. Cannot remember for the life of me. Not that it's super important. All I know is I did some stuff during the day on Sunday. I think I did research and groceries and shit like that. Oh, that's what I did. I went and I hunted down a bunch of bottles of whiskey. I picked up, what is it here? Get my cabinet here, guys. There was only like 3 bottles that came into the Ottawa area of, Michter's limited release. It's a toasted barrel finish bourbon it's a Kentucky sour mash whiskey with a toasted barrel finish. It was about 100 and some bucks for this bad boy. So I picked that up. Happy to be the proud, not a purveyor because I'm not selling it. Owner? Seems like too easy a word. But anyways, yeah, I picked up the Michter's and then I also picked up a bottle of the Michter's just regular small batch bourbon. Because, I mean, why buy something super fancy if you don't know what the regular one tastes like, right? Picked that up. I picked up a bottle of Jack Daniels. Oh, I picked up my Booker's too, my Booker's bourbon. I don't know if I had that last week when I was chatting with you guys. But picked up Booker's bourbon. It's another hard one to get from the Hell CBO. I picked up a bottle of Jack Daniels Master Distiller Series number 6. Found the Auchentoshan, the Bartender's Malt it's called, but the number 1 edition, which is last year's. Can't find it in Ontario anymore, but I found one on the Quebec side. So it got me an Auchentoshan Bartender's Malt. Got me, what else did I buy? Am I anything else? I mean, I picked up a Macallan Gold. I picked up a Lefroy 10. I bought whiskey, way too much. But yeah, so I got the whiskey. So I definitely need to build my whiskey shelves. I think there was another bottle of bourbon I got, but a lot of you guys aren't fucking bourbon drinkers or whiskey drinkers. So I don't want to bore you. All I know is I started a whiskey group. All right. I figured it's time because now I've got about 20 open bottles at home. And these things don't last forever. And as much as I like whiskey, I don't drink it every single day. And when you've got several ounces open that could, last for, just under a year, or not under a year, sorry, 1 or 2 years, depending on how full the bottles are, you gotta get that shit drunk. or get it into an infinity bottle or something, before its alcohol evaporates. Alcohol evaporates. So if you got the bottles, half full or less, it's evaporating at quite a quick rate. And you want to make sure that you'll still be able to drink it. It's not like it goes bad, but the idea is you lose the alcohol percentage and you lose taste. The taste changes. So if it's something that you really, really like, you kind of want to, once it's open, you want to enjoy it. You don't have to finish in a day, but you got a year with it, so make sure it's making its way into your, rotation for tasting. Oh, but having said that, what else do I want to bitch about? No, I'm kidding. I'm really excited to be building these whiskey shelves. I picked up all the pieces at Home Depot yesterday. I got these nice black bars, and I'll take a picture of everything once it's done. Maybe some pictures of the process. But when I'm done the podcast today, I'm going to be spending some time just sitting with those, because I bought pipe, like natural gas pipes, 1/4-inch metal pipe. With all the, the fittings and everything like that. But the thing is, they get cut in their machine. They got oil on them. So I got to sit with a rag or something and just wipe down all of the oils off of these there paps. And then I can assemble them later on. But I'm excited to just sort of sit and watch some TV, clean the pipe, rub down the pipe, lay some pipe, whatever, stupid. But I'm looking forward to doing that. And then, of course, my buddy Jimmy, later this week, when I start getting into the later this week portion of the podcast, Jim's going to help me, fire them into the wall. And I'm also going to buy these 2x10s for shelves. So I'm basically just building stuff that'll affix to the wall. I've got floating shelves now, and I have a lot of my, DK books and Uncle John's bathroom readers and some bottles of whiskey on them. The only thing is that, they're floating shelves, so there's only so much weight they can hold, whereas these, industrial pipes, they're actually going to be footed onto the floor and then bolted into the stud, so that the weight that they're carrying is all distributed properly. So I can actually just load them up with bottles and books and things like that when I'm done. Really happy about that, because I've got to be very careful with weight distribution. I had a bunch of DK books on my shelf, one of my floating shelves. I remember in the middle of the night, one of the nights when my dog Chase was here too. Lucky for me, I had a bunch of laundry and bench. Whatever. It's hard to explain. All I know is that I had a shelf collapse in the middle of the night and dropped probably hundreds and hundreds of dollars of, DK books off the shelves onto the floor, which would have just destroyed them. They're hardcovers. So they would have just had the shit kicked out of them. And a couple of them did. But lucky for me, there was a lot of soft stuff at the time that broke their fall, or it would have been just a nightmare. So I had to fix and come up with a new system for that particular floating shelf. I had to basically fix the wall and then fire it in with toggle bolts. Point being is I'm building a new shelf system that's going to look a little more industrial. I'm excited about that. I got all the pieces for it. I just need to get the wood. So I'm going to build the framing for it, and I'm going to wipe all that down and clean all that off. And then, I'm going to go to the Home Depot either tonight or tomorrow, and I'm going to pick up all the wood that I need, for it. And then, I'm going to pick up the wood. Fucking time is it? Wow. It's 3:40. I basically just stain the wood and then put like a sort of a clear coat on it afterwards, just to give it a nice look. But that's what I'm going to do with Jim on Thursday night. So I'm going to assemble everything else myself, and then I'm going to hang out with my buddy. We're going to, we might sip some whiskey and stain some shelves. And then when that's done, I basically just drop the shelves down onto the frame, screw a couple pipe clamps onto them, and that's it. And it's ready to get loaded up with all my crap. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about that. And I got everything I need. So I was mentioning I started a whiskey group because I've got all these open bottles, and I enjoy sharing my love of whiskey with others. I figured, well, you know what? I threw a post up on Facebook showing some of the collections I got. I told you guys I picked up those whiskey flights, and I'm like, well, it's about time to, throw some feelers out there, see if anyone's interested. And I got a reasonable response from people saying like, yeah, I'd totally be up for trying that. So created the group, threw some pictures on there, some of the stuff that I have. And, I'm going to try to plan the first sort of like whiskey tasting night where it's just, three different whiskeys, a few different people sampling them, trying them, seeing what they think. If any of my listeners are in the Ottawa area and they're interested, please let me know. Message me on Facebook and I will add you to the group. It's a private group. So happy to invite anyone who's interested, but I just want to make it open to the public and all of our business, right? Being aired to the public. So you want to be part of the group, you let me know. I'll add you to the fucking group. And I'll tell you guys more about that when we do it. When I do my first tasting and everything like that, I got to find out what people want to taste too, right? Because it's like, it's not just a tasting, but it'll be kind of like a bit of an educational session too, a bit of an event where it's like, hey, what do you guys want to try? You guys want to try Scotch? Do you want to try bourbon? You want to try rye? Would you like to try one of each? And if you're doing that, it's very difficult to like, well, which one rye represents all rye? Which one bourbon represents all bourbon? There isn't one, of course. I could do a Scotch one. We could do 3 different. I got lots of different bottles where I've got a Lagavulin 8, 12, and 16. So it'd be kind of cool to like do a night where everyone gets to try the 3 different expressions of Lagavulin or Macallan that I have, or Auchentoshan, or I've got 5 different Lafroigs, so I'd be interested to try the different Lafroigs, 3 different ones one night, maybe 3 different another time. But you could also do like, an Islay, Speyside, and Highland, scotches. You could do, I've also got different bourbons that I've got 3 different types of, where it's like, well, let's try the 3 different expressions of this or that. I've got 3 different Jack Daniels. I've got the regular, the Master Distillers, and the single barrel. Whereas I think I'm going to get a bottle of the Gentleman Jack and play it up with the Master Distillers, the Gentleman Jack, and the single barrel, just to give people an idea of the different tastes and expressions that they have. So I'm excited, guys. It sounds stupid, but, I'm hunting down bottles too. I actually have a place in Syracuse that I called yesterday that's put aside a couple bottles of Angel's Envy for me. There's an Angel's Envy Special Reserve Rye and the bourbon as well. And I know that they're both going to be pricey. It's going to fucking cost me, but it is going to be a nice little trip. I tell you what. So, hey, if we go on Friday, it's 24, I would like to tell you, Moose McGuire's show. That would be the Monday night show I did last night. That show was work. All the comics on it did a good job. It was just the crowd was really tough. That was a fun one. I closed that show. Just having fun sort of with them. A lot of people were saying that they had a good time, but I fucking, if you go to my Instagram, well, it's probably too late now. It'll be gone by the time you guys get this episode. But if you went right now while I'm recording this, you'd see it. But there was like, at one point, it was just like, it was work, man. We were working hard. They were laughing, but it was work. It wasn't just like, hey, we'll just say the jokes. They're going to laugh. Like, you had to fucking get them to come along with you. And when I finally got the light, like, you got 2 minutes left, I just went, thank God. And all the comics in the fucking room laughed so hard. So fucking hard. Oh fuck, it was funny. It was incredibly unprofessional of me in the sense, like when you finally see the light, like you only have 2 minutes left, like, oh, I just went, I'm like mid-sentence, I'm like, anyways, guys, you thank God. And all the comics laughed. Yeah, it was that was a work show. That was a work show. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys about the stupid old guy who lives across the hall from me and the dumb shit that he did. Okay, so get this. Jason, Sunday night, he's drinking. He's throwing darts at the club. He paid us. We had a good time. I left. Everyone left. We'd had a long week. Myself and the other 2 comics, we had a long fucking week. Excuse me. So, but Jay likes to drink. I mean, he'll say he didn't drink that much, but he drink. For Jay, not drinking that much is like 9 beers. So he's throwing darts. Whatever. We leave. And I think I got to bed at like 1 or so in the morning. He still wasn't home. So, I remember saw him the next day and he's telling me that he woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or something, steps out of bed, gets such a bad cramp in his leg that he falls over and smashes his head on his recycling bin in his room. Now, I was chatting with him later trying to get a better idea of what was going on, and he explained to me that he doesn't. I said, well, do you like? He's like, I was like, wake up, He's like, I knocked myself out or whatever. But I'm like, I don't know how you can knock yourself out in a plastic recycling bin. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you'd have to hit in such a way. And I go, also, if you were falling and you were conscious, you'd probably try to stick your hands out of something. Are you sure you didn't just pass out and fucking hit your head? Because he woke up, he had this big gash on his nose, and he said he woke up and there's blood all over the floor from his nose. And it's just so funny. I'm like, dude, you're 52, man. Oh yeah, by the way, happy belated birthday to Jay earlier this month. But I'm like, you're 52 now, you know, like you're not too young to like have spells or like little seizures or something like that. I mean, old shit happens to old guys. He's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm like, you just might want to, you know, think about it. If you had such a bad cramp in your leg that you fainted, you fucking pussy, you know? And at the same time, like, if you fell down and knocked yourself out on yourself, I mean, that's just a scary thing. You're getting older and, you know, the whole idea you stand up, you get a cramp and pass out. I don't know. It was really funny to me. Today, his nose is even worse. It's starting to scab up and his lips fucked up too. It's just funny. And I told him, you don't have enough good parts of your face left that you can afford to fucking smash it around, Jay. You know, you gotta take care of that aged leather bowling bag of a face. Part of me really hopes he can hear me in the other room making fun of him. All right. And then now the big news. The big news. I saved the best for last. Last Wednesday. Oh yeah, I did an escape room with Jay too. He wasn't half bad. We finished it pretty quick. We did one of the exit rooms. Anyways, that's just a fun thing. I was chatting with my roommate Simon, you know, the one who drives me crazy, Simple Simon. And Simon is the only one in the house who has the slightest bit of interest in whiskey. And Simon had asked me earlier this year if, like, you know, after I'm done recording my album in January, if I'd be interested in maybe going on a trip somewhere. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I would love that. And like the last 2 years, Jason's always been like in the wintertime. He's like, oh, you guys want to go on we'll go on a roommate trip or whatever. And then Jay can't commit to like where he wants to go or what week will work, whatever. And then he just ends up going on a vacation with his girlfriend and pretending like, you know, he's not a whipped little pussy ass bitch. But yeah, so basically the last couple of years, Jay's like, hey, we should all go. And then we start trying to plan something. And then he just ends up going with his girlfriend somewhere. And the rest of us are like, oh, we thought we were all going together somewhere. Anyways. So I said to him, I go, yeah, but let's not worry about Jay this year. So Simon was like, well, I really want to go to Jamaica. And he's telling me about all inclusives and stuff. And I've never been to like a tropical beach resort for all inclusive. And to be honest with you, I'm at an age now where I don't like drinking and getting shit-faced. Like I did that when I was, you know, a couple weeks ago when I was in Val-d'Or with the young pups, and just my liver's already not in great shape. You know, I have a fatty liver. It's not hurting me yet as far as I know. I mean, that's not a good thing, but I don't need to just get shit-faced. I also don't like how it feels. Like, why would I spend, you know, he was looking at the prices and he's like, yeah, it would cost about $1,500 to go and spend a week at an all-inclusive. And you just eat everything you want, and you drink whatever you want, and you just sit in the sun and you get shit-faced. I'm like, this sitting around drinking is not very enticing to me. Like, I'll sit and I'll have an experience. I'll chat with people, but I don't know, day after day, you know, I'll do a whiskey night once a week, but that sipping, there's a difference too. Like I try to, like every now and again, I ask Jason if he wants to try whiskey, and he'll go like, yeah, let me try it. But he doesn't taste whiskey. He drinks whiskey. And I don't know if some of you might know the difference. Like with a whiskey, you know, you put a little bit in your mouth and you taste it. Whereas like Jay will like fill his mouth with it. Like he's trying to get drunk. And it's like, yeah, these are a lot hotter alcohols than your fucking little pussy ass rums and vodkas that he drinks. Not 40%. Some of them 57, 58. I have 63% whiskeys. That's fire. If you're going to throw that much in your mouth, you can't even taste it. You're just overwhelming your fucking taste buds with alcohol. So anyways, my point is that I'm not trying to sit on a beach and get shit-faced. You know, I would much rather have an experience. I'd rather go somewhere and experience like the culture and the food and, you know what I mean? Like, so I was just telling him, and I was thinking about it myself, where I'm like, you know, if I like with all my interest in whiskey, I could really like to go to Scotland. I'm Scottish heritage, not 100%, but I am predominantly Scottish. My favorite whiskeys are from Scotland. You know, I'm more of a Scotch guy than anything else. I'd love to see where I'm from historically. I'd like to go to see where my fucking whiskeys are from. So I just was thinking to myself, like, I really did go to Scotland. And then Simon came in like last week and he was like, hey, just out of curiosity, he's like, you know, I've been thinking about the Jamaica thing or whatever. And, I don't really know if, you know, he's like, I'm kind of with you. And like, you know, maybe there's somewhere else we could go. And he goes, what about, you know, he's like, would you be interested in going to like Scotland? And I was kind of like, wow, that's exactly what I was thinking about. So I said, yeah. And so on Wednesday, Simon and I sat down and we looked at the prices for trips to Scotland. And it's still a little surreal, but we actually, after spending a few hours there looking at different costs, like we looked at just flights and we looked at, just flights in a hotel for a couple days and maybe hostels for other, but we ended up getting, going in February. And of course, a lot of people are like, well, why would you go to another country in the winter? Well, I looked, and in the last 100 years, according to my Google research, the lowest temperature it's been has been 0 degrees in the last 100 years. So 0 degrees I can handle, right? You put on a jacket, put on a toque, let's go drink some scotch. So we got a hotel, our round trip flights, and a car for the week, and it was only $1,600 per person. So that's a great price. In fact, when we were looking at just flights, it was like $1,700 per person for if we just did a flight. So we actually saved money by getting a hotel and a car as well than just flying. So, definitely check out those travel websites, guys. You'd be surprised. Some people go, I don't need the extra stuff. Look, just check it, even if you don't, because we saved money and we have more. We have more for less. So be sure to check that shit out, guys. So that's my big news. I'm going to Scotland in February from I believe the 17th until the 26th or whatever, or 23rd. Super jazzed. Leave on Sunday. We got a direct flight. Fucking amazing. Some of the more expensive flights were actually on flights that had more stops and layovers. So we get on the plane in Ottawa at like 7 p.m. 7 or 8 p.m. Get on the flight. We fly directly to, I believe, Heathrow, and then a little, I guess, puddle jumper or something over to Glasgow. So, super jazzed. I'm already looking into the distillery tours and things like that. A lot of people keep saying like, oh, what shows are you doing? And how funny is that? Like as a comic, you'd think, hey, let's try to get in some shows over there. My first thought, distilleries. I want to see the whiskey. I want to go drink. I want to have some drinks in pubs. Like I don't want to get shit faced, but I want to have like a drink in a pub. And this, I'm fucking jazzed, guys. Fucking jazzed. It's gonna be so much fun. So, yeah, very excited. And of course I will have lots of stories and I will have more to tell you about as time goes on. But, so that was my week. There's a lot of shit that went on. Did a lot of shows, did a lot of whiskey hunting, a lot of whiskey tasting, hung out with some friends in terms of seeing my buddy Simon, whatever. Yeah, it was a good week. You were listening. I don't need to recap it for you. And having said that, let's get right into the sponsors. As you guys know, I'm currently on hiatus from the Uncle John's Bathroom Readers just because I don't feel like the extra homework before the podcasts. So let's jump right over my other partners. Absolute Comedy. Well, yours truly was just featured at Absolute Comedy hosting in Ottawa, but there are great shows still to be had in Ottawa, Toronto, and Kingston. Be sure to check out absolutecomedy.ca to see what shows are going on in your area. The shows tend to get stronger as the holiday season approaches. We try to book the absolute best comics for this time of year. So be sure to check it out early and make your reservations early. If you're having a Christmas party and looking for some entertainment, definitely consider that as well. But the thing is, these shows sell out. So if you're looking for something fun to do, make sure you hop on the website and you book your tickets early because, look, there's an example in this last week in Ottawa. We had a bunch of extra shows just because they sold out so far in advance. So check out absolutecomedy.ca, see what's coming up near you. Absolute Comedy is the best live stand-up comedy from across North America with locations in Kingston, Toronto, and Ottawa, Ontario. These comedians have been featured on Just for Laughs, Netflix, Comedy Central, CBC's The Debaters, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Conan, The Comedy Network, and much, much more. Go to absolutecomedy.ca to see this week's lineup. Planning a night out is easy with dinner and show packages available at all locations. Live comedy is a great choice if you're organizing a celebration, fundraiser, company outing, or corporate event. Want the show brought to you? They'll send comedians to your venue with performances tailored to your event, creating a night of laughs your guests will love and won't soon forget. So for showtimes, ticket prices, gift certificates, special shows, and more, head to absolutecomedy.ca. Again, that's absolutecomedy.ca for the best live stand-up comedy from across North America. And we're back. Like we went somewhere. Guys, who are my other partners, huh? Did I forget them? Did I forget anybody? I don't forget them. I love them just too goddamn much. My partners at DK, guys, and this week, this is going to be a bit of an awkward review because it's kind of not really the thing that you can, maybe smart people who have an education can write up something smart for an encyclopedia, but for me, for me, I am going to be reviewing this week is the Encyclopedia of Plants and Flowers. And yes, it's the grass is gone, all the greenery, right? It is winter. Everything is hiding its fucking its face for the foreseeable future. And you're like, well, it's going to be a long time before people are planting again and stuff. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. But I'll tell you what, this book is so goddamn big, you might need the entire winter to read it, right? Why would I wait until springtime? You're not going to get all the info that you need. This thing is massive. It may be the biggest DK book they have ever shipped me. It is 750 pages. Excuse me, it's heavy. Is it 750? No, I lied. I'm sorry. It's 744. I rounded up slightly. This thing is crazy. I don't even know where to begin. It really is a housing area for, everything plants. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I mean, to review it, like the first section sort of shows you some ideas and some planting things, some regions and stuff like that. But it has sections on how to create gardens and some inspirational styles. So it's not just like, hey, here's plants and stuff. Again, I tell you guys this every time I do a DK review. They don't just throw in. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's do this a little bit more creatively. This is what I can do. Is some books, when they're on a subject, they just dump all the facts at you. When I worked for the telecom companies and Future Shop, which is basically Best Buy for anyone who's listening internationally, Future Shop was owned by Best Buy and has since been, terminated, I guess. So they just killed the brand. But what happened was when I worked at those places and they teach you about like TVs and cell phones and DVD players and video game consoles and stuff, you can do a thing where you're talking to a sales guy. You're like, oh, well, what's this TV all about? And they're like, well, it's got like 3 HDMI ports and it's got this many refresh rates and it's got this, that, and whatever. And it's got, 4K and it has a smart hub and you can have this. And it's like, it's just what they call that is feature dumping, where you're just telling everybody the features, which they could look at online and find as well. You know what I mean? So the whole idea is like the salesperson's job should be more of like, okay, well, where are you going to be? What are you buying this TV for? Is it for your basement? Is it for your living room? Is there a lot of windows in your living room? Because this one hasn't got that, the blacks are not so black, so they can get washed out by the window and the sunlight and things like that. So the idea is having somebody who knows, is able to sort of go, well, if you're trying to do this, then this might be a little bit, rather than just dumping features. And I do find personally from some of the shit that I look at, there's a lot of books that while those features are still important information, it's not like it's not valid information. It's just done in a feature dumpy kind of way. And what I love about the DK books is that they don't just feature dump. Okay. They will set up kind of what they're about to give you the information on, and they will, categorize things appropriately and give you context and everything like that. And why these things, if we start talking about a bunch of plants, well, why they might be important to, the climate or something like that, or a particular type of garden. So right at the beginning, they have the section on creating a garden and assessing your site and soil and things like that. They have a section on designing with plants, which is a little over my head, but they kind of, they have a really cool section on how to use color and combining color for your plants. I know that I have some people in my onesie base that are green thumbs and whatnot. So, I'm speaking to you people at this point. What do you mean, you people? I'm speaking to you guys. So the book, to keep it simple, it's beautiful. There's tons of pictures. It has all of the different kinds of information. It even tells you the kind of plants that you can use for, like, if you have limestone, if they're plants that'll tolerate droughts, if there's, climbers and trees and shrubs and things that would, obviously with little light or lots of light or things like that. I mean, there's even like, it goes really specific. For example, there's one right here that says plants for hedges and windbreaks. You know what I mean? Did I read this book this week? Absolutely not. I picked random parts of it and I looked and I read them and I found them incredibly fascinating. I always read the introduction in the first sections, but in terms of just reading every single plant, not a fucking chance. Nor would I even be able to retain all that information to, just, oh, and here's what I learned about fucking Santolina pinnatas. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even remember the fucking name. It's right in front of me on the page. But that's all what this book is an amazing reference tool for people who are interested. And it's really cool too. It shows you the different seasons, what plants operate the best, how high, like how there's these little charts that'll show you like, what kind of light conditions, the amount of water, how wide and how tall they grow. Like it's a great fucking book. It's a great book. It is a wonderful, I got to tell you guys, honestly, wonderful gift for any green thumb, in your family, whatever, coming up, the holiday season. A lot of the books I'm going to be recommending going forward are great books for the holidays. So keep that in mind. If this kind of bores you personally, it's a wonderful book. Just next time you're at a bookstore, just pick it up and look at it and try not to fall in love with it. If you know anyone who likes to garden, anyone who's got, indoor, outdoor plants, all those kind of things, check it out, guys. It is called An Encyclopedia of Plants and Flowers. Nice and easy title from my partners at DK Books. It is the new edition with 8,000 plants with more than 1,400 new entries. Okay, so even if someone has the an older edition or something like that, 1,400 new entries. Again, Encyclopedia of Plants and Flowers from DK. Check out dk.com in the States. Add a /CA for here in Canada. Or just Google DK Books and you guys can find all the cool stuff they have. There's tons and 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 tons of books on their website, so they can be the new ones. I think I'm really excited about the whiskey tasting course book that they sent me. I've been peeking at it, but I haven't had a chance to really go through it just yet. So I crazy busy week. I just told you about it. I mean, I can spend an entire day buying whiskeys, but I'm looking forward to reading that one, and I can't wait to review it. I probably we'll do that on the same week that I tell you guys about how my first, whiskey tasting group goes. But I've got a wonderful little collection of whiskey books from DK. I've got the Great Whiskeys. I've got the World Whiskey. I've got the Single Malt Scotch book, the Whiskey Tasting Course, and just the Michael Jackson, who is a whiskey journalist, not the kid fucker. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. I always end up being able to put something controversial in with my DK reviews. But no, Michael Jackson, the whiskey journalist who passed away, I think in like 2007. But he is a vast amount of books through DK will like write. So just if you want to learn more about whiskey, you don't know whiskey, you're like, oh, I'd like to learn more. Boom, whiskey, Michael Jackson book. Easy to remember. I'm looking for a book called Whiskey. Sir, that's a little difficult. By who? Michael Jackson. Spelled exactly the same way. So I think that'll do for the sponsors. Thank you to all my sponsors as always, of course. And coming up this week, I'm doing a spot at Yuck Yucks tomorrow night. So hopefully I'll be able to dust off some funny and go to the stage and really just make them laugh. Thursday evening, I'm gonna hang out with my buddy Jimmy. We're gonna stain the whiskey shelves. Do that. I'm hoping to be able to maybe Sunday evening put my shelves up. So if I can get them stained and lacquered or whatever the fuck you call it before Sunday, maybe they can dry and put them on up there in the wall in my house. What else? Do I have anything fun this weekend? I'm doing some demos for one company. I'm going to be doing an expo for another. Just busy. I get to see my buddy Mika and his lovely wife Mel on Friday night. We're going to play some games. I'm hosting a gig on Saturday night. Like this is the busy season for me, guys. All the companies want me. It really makes the girl feel special. So, things are really starting to gear up. I'm getting my snow tires on. There you go. There's my little bit of Canadiana. My snow tires are getting on Monday. So I'm going to have a crazy busy weekend of driving all over the place with my frighteningly, they're not bald or anything, but my all seasons. I'm lucky I do have an all-wheel drive vehicle. So, I do okay in the slippery snow for now, but then once my my snow tires are on, I'm going to be good to go. So yeah, that's the week I have coming up, guys. Things are starting to really rev up and get her started. So on that note, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. I look forward to hearing from you guys. You guys know the email address. I tell you all the time, contact@onemanpodcast.com. Let me know what's going on with you. Would love to get together and hang out with some of my onesies, my pals listening. Let's drink some whiskeys. Let's set some goals. Let's celebrate goals that you're achieving. And let's kick this bad boy up, guys. We'll talk to you soon.